Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:07, O'Connor and Company. As we fly through this Thursday morning, it's Cassie Smedley's favorite moment when we get to hear a little Sir Duke. Let's go, Cassie. Go. Come on.
It's so good. The vibes are vibing, Larry.
See, you say vibes are vibing. You know why you say that? Brian Wilson, Good Vibrations. That wouldn't even be part of our vernacular if it weren't for Brian Wilson.
Oh, thank you, Brian Wilson, for that and so much more.
And his friend Stevie Wonder for Sir Duke. Coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to reflect on Brian Wilson, absolute American genius. His passing yesterday with the Beach Boys. David Wild will join us for that conversation. That's Cassie Smedley. I'm Larry O'Connor. KT McFarland was not a California girl, but I bet for a while there she wished she was a California girl during the heyday of the Beach Boys. KT, thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, I did live in Los Angeles when I worked at the Rand Corporation for 2 years between Oxford and MIT. So
oh, yeah?
I was a California girl briefly.
That counts. There you go. Pictures or it didn't happen. I want to see you and your,
yeah,
hanging out at the beach with the surfer dudes, with the bushy blonde hairdos and all that stuff. I'm trying to have fun with you, KT, because I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was with the MIT nerds at the Rand Corporation. So, but okay, keep your fantasy going, Larry. Keep your fantasy going.
Let's talk about Iran. What's going on? We had the Israeli Navy do a strike on a Houthi base in Yemen, which is really a proxy for Iran. We've got American personnel now being evacuated from various facilities in the region. Seems like something's up. And we have the IAEA announcing that Iran is in violation of nuclear proliferation agreements. So what's next?
President Trump's got to have a decision to make in the coming weeks, probably not the coming months, but in the coming weeks. And if you look at all the sort of intractable crises he's facing, whether it's China, Taiwan, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, or whether it's Iran nukes Hamas. Yeah. Iran nukes Hamas is the one that's going to, would in a lot of ways be the easiest for him to solve because the least ramifications if he's forced to take action.
What do you make of sort of the internal conversation happening within the Republican Party and the conservative movement where you do have people, I think, that have always been wary of Iran, who have been very critical of the Obama and Biden administration's attempts to sort of appease Iran, give them money, and sort of work out a nuclear deal when you can't really trust them, and who are basically saying, we got to stop these guys from they're way too close to a nuclear bomb. We have to stop them now. But then you've also got voices saying, hey, who are we? Don't give us that weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East thing again to build up another war effort. And by the way, if Iran wants to have a bomb, who are we to tell them that they can't have a bomb?
Here's the debate is going to be about what kind of an agreement do you have and what happens with the centrifuges. Now, I'm going to make it really simplistic, but in effect, a centrifuge is like a salad spinner. And if you spin the salad a little bit, you get low enriched uranium. And that's what's just in nuclear power generation. If you keep spinning the salad spinner, you get to highly enriched uranium, and that's what's used in a bomb. So the people who say Iran can never have a bomb under any circumstances and we can't trust them say, look, they shouldn't even have a salad spinner because their promise to stop the salad spinner just at the low level and not continue to spin it to high, we can't trust them. If there's a salad spinner there, if there's centrifuges in Iran, we can't trust them. And even if we have these provisions to say we will have anytime, any place inspections, we keep finding every 6 months, there's another hidden secret facility deep in a mountain that we didn't know about. Yeah. So if there's going to be an agreement that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, it has to look like this. No salad spinner. In other words, Iran, you don't get centrifuges. And we have to have the ability to inspect anytime, any place. When I say we, I don't mean necessarily the United States, but some international organization. Now, if Iran comes back and says, whoa, we want nuclear energy, we need nuclear energy, then we say, fine, you can buy low-enriched uranium from a lot of different places. The French have a big market in it. You don't get to do it yourself because we don't trust you.
KT, did you see this video from Tulsi Gabbard that she put out a day or so ago where she says that we are perhaps closer to a nuclear war than any time in recent memory? What's your take on that?
Oh, I think that's very true. And how would that look? It's of the three intractables that I just said. China to Taiwan, probably not. But Russia, Ukraine, maybe. If Russia feels that it has, Russia has nuclear weapons. Mm-hmm. And then when you think of the Iran part of it, no, I don't think that there's no need to use nuclear weapons. But if Iran wants nuclear weapons, and if Iran achieves nuclear weapons, what's likely to happen, Cassie, is that there's a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. Now remember, this is a part of the world where they shouldn't even be playing with matches. It's so incendiary. Mm-hmm. That somehow, if Iran gets nukes, the Saudis will say, well, we want nukes too. And Turkey will say, well, we should have some. And a number of countries will then have nuclear weapons. And it's, again, not that they would necessarily hand them over to terrorists, but the likelihood of a nuclear incident, shall we say, goes way up in the Middle East. So that's why some people who don't, they don't really care about Iran, but they care about the nuclear proliferation issue, say that Iran can't have them because if Iran has them, everybody else has them.
So what I'm hearing from you, KT, and I'm a little surprised, is that this is a decision that President Trump needs to make, like you said, in weeks, not months. Is that decision to step back and let Israel do what Israel wants to do with Iran, or is that decision America joins Israel in this effort?
Well, I don't speak for President Trump. Only President Trump speaks for President Trump.
Of course.
But one potential scenario would be that the United States says, okay, you're tapping us along, as President says. You're playing for time. You're trying to play out the clock until you have nuclear weapons. And so what President Trump has said is we're going to go for commerce, not chaos.
Right.
So we could use an economic weapon against Iran, which is what President Trump did in the first term. When I was there, we had what's called the maximum pressure campaign, and I was part of that, which is that you squeeze them all sorts of ways. You squeeze them economically, diplomatically, potentially militarily, and you really go after their economy to bankrupt their economy. Iran needs to sell oil and natural gas abroad because that's what pays for their entire government. And in the first term, when the price of oil went from $140 a barrel during the Obama administration down to $40 a barrel in the Trump administration, Iran's income stream was cut by 75%. They didn't have money for Hamas or the Houthis or Hezbollah. They had enough trouble feeding their own people. So President Trump could use that economic weapon again, squeezing Iran, not only with low oil prices, but with sanctions and making sure Iran doesn't get to sell anything at any price to anybody in the world. And then another thing is, if Israel is, according to press reports, is making plans to strike the Iranian nuclear sites, would they need American permission? Probably not. And would President Trump look the other way? Would the Sunni Arab countries look the other way? Yeah. And I think there's an argument to say that Iran is everybody's problem.
Right. As you've been explaining to us for years now, the Arabs don't like Iran either. There's this fight between this Persian dominant perspective on the Middle East versus the Arab perspective on the Middle East. So that could certainly be the case as well. Real quickly, we're getting word that there appears to be a deal with China, or though it's weird. President Trump says we've got to deal with China. Here are the details, but of course it needs to be approved by Chairman Xi. So it really isn't a deal unless Xi says it's a deal, right?
Yeah, but they're going to get close to this one because both sides really need a deal. And the deal is that we need to get the rare earth minerals and magnets from China. China's cornered the market on them. And although we could develop our own, we could develop those in Ukraine, other parts of the world, it'll take a couple of years to do it. So we need access to theirs, which is essential for modern communications. And they need access to some of our exports to make cars, for example. And they really want their children to go to school at American universities, especially the upper-class Chinese. Every one of them has like one child because of the one-child policy, and they want that one child to go to Harvard, where Xi Jinping's daughter went. And so there's a deal to be had there, whether it's a long-term deal, who knows? But I think that there's pressure on both sides to do a deal, and President Trump plays hardball.
Thank you, KT. Always good to talk with you. Enjoy the good vibrations of this endless summer.